Are there some general insights you want to share with us before the questions?
Sure. Yeah, good win. Obviously, it's a tournament game, so it was a tight game. We expected that. I thought first half, they clearly had a plan just to sit in and, force us to break down their block, look for counters. Thought there were times we could have played quicker in that first half. At halftime, we talked about some ideas of how we can break them down. I thought in the first half we were a little toothless with our clarity on how we could actually create a chance. Although we did have a very good chance, I thought, with Ian in that first half. Second half, I thought our intensity was better. I thought our tempo on the ball was better. Obviously, the subs that came in gave us a lift. It's great to have Ema back. You can see, what he brings to the table. Obviously, everybody knows who we have out in the attack. So, it's not surprising that, it was a tight game and we had trouble, creating chances of scoring. But I was real proud of the guys that they found the goal and that they got the win. And I was really pleased we got the clean sheet.
Shutouts have been tough to come by this year, so can you talk about back line? They seem to be in sync.
Yeah, I thought they played well. Obviously, Peyton again, another good game. He had kind of a knock on his rib first half. That was bothering him, and his calf just cramped. He'll be fine. But I think again, you see, there's another game where he's got it. He's a quality player. You can see it the first touch. He brings it off his chest. Simple, pops the ball down. Should have had an assist on that cutback, I thought, to Ejmir. He defended really well again. He's quick. Brandon continues to get rhythm. That's important for him. And I thought Kessler and Arriaga did well today. And Ali, he's a top goalkeeper. When we need him to make a save, he did that. So really pleased with the clean sheet.
And then can you just kind of talk about Jack kind of being able to come in and be able to find the goal and just also, other kind of things you noticed about his performance tonight?
Yeah, I opted to go just with the same lineup as last game just because I wanted continuity, but I really thought about starting Jack in the game, actually. I think he brings the ability to play in pockets. He's pretty shifty 1v1. In an open game, sometimes that's not his type of game, but in a game where we're trying to break down a low block, it's a perfect game for him, so I was real pleased he went in. Him and Ema, I thought, lifted the game and gave us a spark, the spark we needed really to score the goal.
You talked about it a few times recently that these are kind of grinded out games given who's available. I'm curious, who are some of the players that have really stuck out to you during this run that have really showed that they can do those performances?
I was really proud of the whole group, and really you look at the last two games, should have been 2 wins, and we ended up getting a draw and a win, and that's after, not a good performance or result versus Philly, so I'm pleased we bounced back. We showed a much better mentality these last 2 games. I thought we fought really hard. We defended well. Yeah, you're missing Carlos Gil and Dylan Barrero and Giacomo Rioni and Chancalay. Those are guys that would, that are match winners that find you goals, and we don't have those guys. But I still thought, we found a goal in each game, and maybe we could have found, a few more chances for sure. But I'm pleased with the performances the last 2 games, and we thought long and hard just about the end of the last game and what we can do better as coaches, and we made some adjustments there at the end of the game in terms of our decisions.
Obviously, with all the injuries, you missed the individual quality of a player like Carlos and some of the others, obviously. But how much does that alter your overall team tactics in this time, or does it not?
Yeah, no, I think you have to. We're trying to still control games a little bit, but because that takes pressure off us just sitting in. we don't have transition players really with a ton of pace, so it's difficult, you know. We don't want to just sit in and play in transition. So trying to keep a bit of the ball, trying to press on goal kicks, use our work rate, use our honesty with all 11 guys that will work to press and defend and dig in. So, yeah, the last 2 games after Philly, we said, okay, how do we need to play with this group? And, you know, I thought, again, going back to Philly, we would have done much better in the 5, but, you know, it didn't work out. And sometimes you see that with teams. They're just not comfortable in it. It doesn't work for them. And, you know, our center backs right now don't seem comfortable in a 5. So, you know, I think the last 2 games we showed that we can defend well and keep a bit of the ball and find a goal, you know, and grind out, you know, a result in each game.
Can you talk a little more about that reflection about how to see out the games? What were the conversations like, and what was different about this game?
Yeah, we always talk, you know, before the game about, you know, kind of what could happen in the game, you know, and we try to, you know, in our ability to impact the end of a game, right? We have these subs, 5 of them, and we have 3 stoppages, and you know, we want to always feel the game, but you also don't want to be just deciding, you know, everything in the heat of the moment. So we try to, you know, somewhat program and pre-plan what we might do, predict it more than anything. And you know, we've done well when we've gone into the 5, you know, with Jonah. And so I still think that's a good way to go, especially if teams are getting a lot of crosses in, or you know, like the Cincy game, for instance, or Nashville. Those teams are getting a lot of crosses in, and we're dangerous on set pieces. So that in those games it helped us. And I don't know if we get the win without it, you know. But in the last game, it didn't work, you know. So we wanted to read the game, and we decided we didn't need it. We didn't need the 5 this game.
Okay, we can talk about Ema a little more because he was out and he just seemed fine coming right out of the blocks.
Yeah, hopefully we start to get more and more guys back. You know, at one point I saw, you know, I get a report on the injuries, and you know, the red guys are on the report and the green guys are the healthy ones. And at one point I got that report. It was like 12 red guys, and I think now we're at 7. You know, so I'm hoping we get to 6 and 5, and you know, by the Nashville game we get a few more back, and by Montreal especially, you know, hopefully we're full strength, because you can see it's just easier to execute, you know, especially in attack. I still think for me you can have a good mentality, and I told the guys this: it doesn't matter who's in. You can have a good mentality, and you can fight. You can be organized defensively, and you can keep the ball, and they showed in the last 2 games you can do that. But for sure, you're just not going to be quite as purposeful in the final third without your designated players. That's why you buy them. But Ema has been a great sub for us, and the games he's started, he's done extremely well. And you know, it's just great to have that pace. I mean, you could see right away when he went in the game, we have a player that can stretch and run and go 1v1 and get crosses in. You know, so we need that to fully execute our game model. We need pace and penetration and 1v1 ability. So he brings that.
And then, you know, you mentioned like fighting through and having a good mentality in these games where you're missing guys. I guess how much does Matt Polster kind of epitomize that?
Yeah, for me, like 2 guys today, I don't think I answered your question there with the guys, but I don't like to point out guys too much, but sometimes I do, good and bad, sometimes, you know, and it's for a reason. But I thought Matt and Ian today were outstanding. Ian had a little kind of missed a training this week, and we didn't know if he'd be available, and he's like, no way I'm missing, you know, and you just like that, because there've been, you know, some guys that they're out, and they, you know, you think they're back in, and it's just like, you love guys that just want to be in. And you know, I thought Ian and Matt were outstanding today, and Matt, he's played the most minutes of anybody on our entire team, you know. And so I said it, when you talk about what's the issue, it's not a training load issue, or it's are you a player that's available and durable? And we'll look at that at the end of the year because it's really important. And Matt Polster, he's just always available. He's every training and every game. And we need more guys like that. Ian Harks has been available every training and every game for the most part. You see Xavi, he's very, very durable. He's always available. So we need more of those type of guys. We have more of those type of guys, then we can train a little harder, then we execute a little bit better in games, and then we're bulletproof, and that's how you keep guys healthy, when they're training all the time and playing all the time. When you get injuries, it's because they're in, they're out, they're not completely trained, and now they're playing minutes or sprinting when they weren't, training hard, and it's just that's how you get injured. The teams that I've had over the years that have been healthy, every guy's in training every single week, and everybody's playing every single minute of every single game. I had in 2020, we won the MLS Cup. My center backs played all 34 games, 90 minutes every game. That's what you need, And so I love those two guys in particular because they're always available.
Sorry, we have a question from Jonathan Siegel. Do you have a question, Jonathan Siegel?
Oh, hey, Caleb, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great, sorry about that. Jonathan from MLS Soccer, hope you're doing well. Congrats on the win. Just wanted to ask two questions. The first part being, what do you notice about the intensity versus the League MX opponents and just the challenge that provides for MLS clubs overall? And then secondarily, Jack, of course, got the goal tonight, but wanted to kind of hear your perspectives on the youth that New England have. And just in a bigger picture sense this season and how much that has been, I think, maybe a big part of this club's story with Esmir, Jack, Peyton, Noel, etc. Just those two separate topics, if you may.
Yeah, starting with the younger players, I agree with you, Jonathan, 100%. I knew coming in there were some good young players, and I knew this kid, Peyton Miller. I asked Kurt about him, and he's like, "You're really going to like this kid. He's quick. He's a converted winger." I've had a lot of converted wingers that they always work well in my system. I had DeAndre Yedlin, for example. He was a winger, made him into a right back, and that's the profile you need, a quick guy that's been a winger that maybe isn't quite good enough to be a winger, but is perfect as an overlapping outside back. And so I first saw this kid Peyton in preseason, I couldn't believe he was 16 years old. And I said it's too bad he wasn't healthy because he would have played 10, 12 games this year. But now you're seeing the quality. That's super exciting for the future to have this kid. The sky's the limit for him, honestly. He's as good as I've seen, honestly, as a 16-year-old in his position. And he's only going to get better. But, Esmir's played a lot of games this year. We've had to rely on him at times to carry our team, and he's been excellent. He's got a bright future as well. Noel Buck has a bright future. And then recently, Jack and Malcolm Fry have cracked in as well. So I love it. It's funny. There have been times over the years where people have said, I don't play young players. I have to have young players to play young players. So Portland, we didn't have a ton of young players. Marco Farfan is a guy I gave his debut. We had some international young players. Alvis Pala played at 17. But you got to have young players to play them. In Columbus, we had Aiden Morris, who obviously I loved and started an MLS Cup final, Sean Sawatsky, Isaiah Parente. So it's great for me to have young players that are good enough, and if they're good enough, I'll play them. And we're gonna keep adding young players. You look at our roster right now; we have 14 players over 29 years old. That's just where we're at. We're a mature. This is a mature group right now. It's reaching the end of a cycle. I don't want to say it's the end of this cycle, but it's reaching the end of the cycle for some of these guys. And maybe that's next year, the end of the year. Maybe it's this year. But we need to get younger in terms of our succession planning. And we're going to be adding some young players in this window and a lot of young players in the off season as well. As far as the intensity of the matches against League MX teams, Yeah, it's just a different type of game. It's kind of fun. Sometimes you get, playing your same teams in your conference over and over again. It can get a little monotonous at times. You know them inside and out, and it's nice to just play a different team, even to scout a different team. And for the players, it's stimulating just to go into a different type of game. So I think, just the street smart out of these League MX teams. Obviously the talent as well. They spend a lot of money. Especially some of the top teams in League MX, their budgets are huge. So it's fun, and it's great for us to get that first win. That's huge in a, 3-team group or two teams advance. So we'll rest up, and then we've got a little bit of a break, and then we'll get ready for Nashville.